Hey, I am Laurel Ann Stark, and here live on the drive today we are going to talk about delegating fails. So if you are a small business owner, entrepreneur, or any kind of freelancer, anything like that, you may have noticed that it's kind of difficult not to be able to duplicate yourself. So today I want to talk to you about the worst way to manage, how to have those awkward conversations, which kind of awkward conversations you need to be having with your staff and or teammates, and how to get more resumes if you're hiring, and how to delegate, and why most people screw this up, and how they can go ahead and fix the delegation fails, right? Because I know so many small business owners, and there's only so much you can do, and there's only so much you should be doing, frankly, as far as running your business. And what we need to do is be smart with our time, right? So we need to delegate stuff to people. That's what I usually advise anyways. So I've been in business since 2003, and I've been through all kinds of different configurations of my business. But the thing that I have sort of settled on is that there's certain stuff I'm just not good at. When I try to do my own books, for example, huge fail. I hate that sort of thing. I don't like Quicken. I don't like whatever QuickBooks and all that kind of stuff. Like, my eyes just glaze over, and I just don't care. I am good with all kinds of other things, but that just, for example, is something that I really, really don't like. So in that case, I delegate it to someone who's like a professional in that department. So I always recommend that if you can, stick with what you're really good at, and stick with what you are passionate about and what brings the highest value, and then also look at the opportunity cost of things. So for example, if you can charge, say, $60 an hour, and you can hire someone to do stuff you hate for $30 an hour, then I think that that's worth it. So that's my model for delegation. So if you hate it, you're not good at it, and you can afford it, then it's probably time to think about delegating that specific task to someone else. So that's how you kind of know if you should be delegating. So then how do you find someone to delegate to? So you can go about it a whole bunch of different ways. You can do the virtual assistant thing, which is basically hiring somebody from the internet. They could be located in your town, or they could be located anywhere, really. You could actually hire physical staff to join your team where they're officially an employee, and you are paying for their CPP and CI and paying them a consistent wage and that type of thing. You could hire a freelancer. You could hire someone on a contractor for odd jobs type thing. You do all kinds of different things. So what I'm going to talk about is how to actually attract people to submit for the job that you're looking for. So this is something that most people don't know, but when you are advertising for someone to join your business, the best thing to do is to think about it from the perspective of the person shopping for jobs, right? So what you want to do is make it memorable. You want to definitely position it as being of benefit to the person who is looking for the job, or looking for the contract, or whatever the case is, and be super clear on what it is that they'd be doing, and also how you know it's going to be a good fit versus a bad fit. So sometimes people don't know that you're looking for someone with whatever exemplary organizational skills unless you say that. So be as sort of engaging and try to stand out and as clear in the job posting as possible. And so I'll just share an example that I had with posting for a job. So basically I was looking for essentially sort of a project coordinator as well as an admin assistant, and I came up with this title called Office Ninja. And so I found this cute little graphic online, and I called it Office Ninja, and I spent so long writing up all the specs about what it was that I was looking for, as well as how I knew it would be a good fit, Ashley, as well as what specifically were the things I was looking to delegate. So basically I was if you are naturally turning your soup cans out and organizing your cupboards alphabetically and stuff, you are my woman, because I am not or man, because I'm not about that, right? That's my failure, and that's where I need somebody to come in. So I don't know, I made it super funny too, right? And anyways, it ended up going viral on social media, which was super rad. And then I got all kinds of resumes, and all of that didn't cost me anything except for my time writing the posting. So if you want more resumes, or you want more people applying, then go the extra mile and make it catchy and interesting, and be super specific. Tell a little bit of a story as well, and that can super help. So that's how you can get more resumes coming in for your position. For those of you just joining, I am talking about how to delegate, whether that's because you're running your small business or you're freelancing and you're looking for like an admin assistant or whatever the case is. So how I decide whether I need to delegate something is if I suck at it and I hate it and I can get someone to do it for less than I can charge for my time. So that's how I know that I can delegate. So say you know that you have to delegate something and now you've got all these different people coming in and they're like applying for the job and stuff like that, and you get, you know, the perfect candidate. So how do you actually go about and delegate? So one thing that I noticed for myself anyways is that I'm kind of a control freak and a perfectionist, which is a horrible combination if you're trying to like let go and let somebody do these things for you. So what I had to do is learn how to delegate, and so it was a really painful process for me. And I don't think I'm even anywhere close to perfect at it at all, but I'm better, and I wanted to share with you how I learned to get a little bit better at delegating, which is super helpful. So the first thing that I needed to learn was how to manage people properly, because that's the thing, right? Like I didn't go to school for, well, anything really, but I didn't go to school for like, I didn't go to management school, so I didn't learn how to manage people. It wasn't part of the skills that I learned, you know, in my life or anything like that. So I used to do this like really tyrannical command and control kind of thing, where it was like, this thing needs to be done, it needs to be done a certain way, it needs to be done perfectly, otherwise like I'm upset and we're gonna have a conflict problem. And so that is, I think, a really common way that people manage. And what that doesn't account for, which I realized, is it doesn't account for human error. It doesn't account for people to be like people. And it also doesn't account for that, like, possibly if you're hiring someone to do something for you, that possibly they have like a better way of doing it than you did it. So I had to learn all those things the hard way. And so what I try to do now is just be really specific in 4 ways. So, making sure that I'm hitting 4 points when I'm delegating something. So I get really specific on what the desired outcome is. So like, this is how we know what success looks like. So if I need somebody to, like, for example, do my books, I'm like, success looks like having my books balanced at the end of each month, having a report that comes to me that indicates like my profitability, and having that all done within like 30 days, something like that. That's how we know what success looks like. Any sort of place where I need things done a specific way, like in that example, that report, like not necessarily all bookkeepers are going to know to send a report like that unless you specifically ask for it, right? So that was the one thing that I was super specific on in terms of like what I need that might be, you know, original or like unique or whatever. And then the things that the person can go ahead and use their judgment on. So like, I'm not even going to tell my bookkeeper how to use like QuickBooks. So it's like, however you get that done, like I don't really care, like just get it done kind of thing. So what by when, what is cool to like just use your best judgment on, and what I need specifically done by. And then also like just communication stuff. So I really feel, because email sometimes messes up, right? Like you don't always get your emails. So one thing I ask of people that I work with, like generally speaking, to like please get back to me after 24 hours. So if I email you, like I need to hear back within 24 hours that you got my email, you understand, and that it's like cool that you can hit the deadline or whatever the case is. So that brings me to like this really interesting mind shift. So it's this audio that I listened to from Steve Chandler about expectations versus agreement. And so what I was doing wrong was I was expecting things from people and I wasn't making an agreement with them. So what does that even mean? So what that means is I was just like, hey, I need you to do this thing by a certain day and it needs to be like perfect or whatever. You can imagine I was really crappy to work for the first like 10 years, maybe 5 years. I think I'm a little bit better now, but anyway, so the expectations versus agreement thing is where you have a conversation with the individual that you are looking to partner with to get some work done, and you let them know what you're hoping to create an agreement around. So I am hoping to create an agreement around getting my books done by the end, like say 45 days after I send in my information or something like that. So it's about saying, this is like my hope of what we can agree on, and then what do you need from me to make that so, and is that even like possible? And in this way, what happens is the person that you're speaking with can actually give you some input as to whether that's realistic, anything that they actually need from you in order to get that job done. If it isn't realistic, and other mitigating factors that you may not be aware of. And then once they've had the opportunity to share their 2 cents and like like their input, then they can decide if they're going to agree to that. Now that's so much more powerful than just like delegating and being like, you need to do this by this date, blah, blah, blah. It's not received very well. Whereas if you're making an agreement, then it's two people coming together and basically they're giving you their word that they can adhere to their side of the agreement. And that is just, it's a game changer. It feels different. The respect is different. The results are way, way better. And it enables you to actually create like a long-term relationship with the person that you're delegating to, and it builds trust. And it also helps you understand a lot more information about what it takes to get that job done, which is really helpful when you are trying to figure out how to run your business and those types of things. So that is how not to manage, what to do instead. And then awkward conversations. So I don't know about you guys, but I hate having awkward conversations. I'm a conflict avoider, and I needed to learn how to have those kinds of conversations, because when conflicts do arise, like putting your head in the sand, like what my gut reaction to do is to put my head in the sand when there's a conflict. Like that doesn't really work super well when you are running a business. And then what I found would happen is that I would get just like really resentful and kind of like grumpy and like hard to be around, just because I didn't have the tools to communicate effectively when I was displeased with a particular outcome as it relates to delegation. So I learned this assertive communication technique that I wanted to share with you guys, which is basically a game changer as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just gonna quickly turn left here. Yeah. So for all those folks joining, this is Laurel Ann Stark here live on the drive. You guys are joining me on my drive home, my daily commute here in Victoria, BC, Canada, and we are talking about delegating fails. So if you're a small business owner, freelancer, contractor, etc., and you are realizing that you can't clone yourself and you can't do it all yourself and you need to start delegating stuff and you're not good at it, then definitely keep watching. So far we have covered, and this video will be available on my Facebook page as well as my Facebook profile, so you can watch later. But so far we have covered how not to manage people and what to do instead of the command and control technique. We have covered how to determine rather whether something should be delegated or not. We have also talked about how to specifically, like what to include when you're delegating something, so that way the person on the receiving end of what you're saying is fully informed and they have everything they need to do the work. That's basically what we've covered. And I was just touching on the assertive communication technique. So basically if you're because this happens all the time, right? Like people are just people, and conflicts happen, especially when you're in the workplace. So those conflicts need to be addressed, and if expectations aren't met or agreements are broken or whatever the case is, there needs to be a conversation there. And as I was sharing before, what I used to do is just kind of like bottle my irritation about that and not necessarily share it because I didn't have the tools. So here is the assertive communication technique. Basically, there's four things that you say. There's four headings rather, or four parts to it. The first one is I see. So it's I see, I feel, I need. Oh geez, what's the fourth one? It's like I see. Yeah, I see. Okay, I think it's I see, I feel, and I need. There's another one. Rats. Okay, I'll post it in the link after this video once I figure it out. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart right now. But anyways, when you say I see, then you write down in an email or in the conversation, you just talk about what you see happening. And then the second part is I feel, and then that's where you can, communicate any sort of feelings or judgment around the situation. And then I need. And that it talks about the change that you need to see. And it's just basically like a really nice way to keep the focus on yourself and not get like really blamey and judgy with the other person, which is really nice. And that's what I use for these sort of communication technique. Now, another way to sort of mitigate these awkward conversations or make them less awkward in times of conflict or even prevent them altogether is to do a super regular quarterly review with anybody that you have working with you closely, especially staff. So here's how it works. Basically, you write down all of the things, or type out all of the things that your team member is responsible for in their capacity, in their job or whatever. So say it's like 10 different things that they need to do. And then you write down the 10 things that you're responsible to them for. And then you rate them on their 10 things, you rate yourself on your 10 things, and then ask them to do the same, and then you sit down and look at what the difference is. So what's really interesting here is if you find that you're rating someone differently than they're rating themselves, then it's really a nice opportunity to have a conversation about that. Or if they're rating you differently than you rate yourself, then it's a good opportunity to have a conversation about like why those scores might be different. And it's a really non-confrontational way to just clear up any miscommunications or clear up any stuff that might be happening, because the root of all conflict is poor communication, as far as I can tell. And so the more you can communicate about what is going on, you know, in your realm, and the more you give space to people you're working with so they can communicate about what is going on in their realm, like that's the difference between, I think, a manager and a leader, is really like supporting your people and giving them space to like be themselves and kind of like mess up, and also like grow and change and like, yeah, just be people and help them out wherever you can as well, right? Because they're helping you out. So it's about building relationships. And yeah, I found that tool super helpful. If you want a copy of that template, just post in the comments below, and I will direct message you the document that I have. So it's just a hack, and then you can kind of copy paste and input your own information. So we have talked about how to get more resumes. We have talked about how to know whether or not to delegate something, how to actually go ahead and do that and not miss anything, so that way you can actually be a clear communicator, how to get how to poorly manage someone versus manage them in a decent way that increases employee retention, increases mutual respect, and increases productivity of the folks that you're managing, how to deal with when things don't work out or there's conflict or awkward conversations to be had, how to actually have those awkward conversations, and how to sort of prevent them using the quarterly review. And that's pretty much the deal as far as all the stuff that I've learned that I found really, really impactful around delegating. So again, it's basically like if you are bad at something and you hate the task itself. So if you hate it, you're bad at it, and you can get somebody else to do it for cheaper than you charge, then you should definitely delegate it. That's my sort of litmus test about things. Because it's like that saying, jack of all trades and master of none. Hey Andrew, I'm glad you're here. Joining me live on the drive. So I'm just driving home. It's a nice rainy day here in Victoria, BC, Canada. And I've got my super safe hands-free device so I can chat with you guys as we're driving here. So talking about delegating. So basically most of the clients that I deal with that have staff or contractors and things like that express like serious frustration. Like, what happens if this person doesn't do what I need them to do? And they don't really understand how to have a conversation that is going to resolve things, right? Because the last thing you want to do is like start blaming people and getting all like angry and stuff like that. So what I shared a little bit earlier was the assertive communication technique, which is basically you say, this is what I see that's happening. Like, for example, I see that I send you all the information to get my books done every Friday, and I see that I haven't received any email back from you in like 8 months, right? Just like observation, this is what I see. And then like the second part is I feel. So I feel concerned, I feel possibly ignored, I feel curious as to what might be going on with you, I feel like knowing if maybe I should be looking for another bookkeeper, I feel, like worried about the state of my finances and if I can really like trust you to take care of this for me. And so what I need, and then that's the last part is what I need, is I need to clear up with you, if I need to be sending them via Dropbox or social media, maybe I need to send you the files in a different way. I need to find out if you're getting my emails. I need to find out if we still have an agreement that you will do my books. This is just an example, but that you will do my books, within 45 days of receipt of that email. And so it's, again, I see, I feel, I need. That's the assertive communication technique. It keeps the focus on yourself as opposed to blaming other people. Like, it doesn't really go well when you make people defensive, right? So you're like, you don't email me back and I blah, blah, blah. Like, that's just like crappy, right? Whereas if you keep the focus on yourself, then it really opens up space for them to have some dialogue and just address, the very concise note that you've sent or the conversation that you've had. So that's really cool. And then as far as delegating goes, one thing I see is a lot of people, they want things done a certain way, but they don't necessarily communicate how they want that done. They're just like, I just need it to be like good and perfect. And that's really cool, except for the fact that we're human beings, so we're not cool people imperfect, and we're going to make mistakes, and we're also going to have different interpretations of stuff, right? So if I say I want something done professionally, that's a judgment call. That's subjective as opposed to objective. So the best thing to do is like fill in the details for people, right? And say, by professional, what I mean is that, I don't know, like say for example, we're talking about data entry or something like that. Professional would be like, no shouty font. Like we don't want like caps, like all caps lock used in the data that we're entering. We need the file name to be named something like, I don't know, company name .x as opposed to like a bunch of swear words or something like that, right? So like specifically what that looks like, and then take the time to train people and ask if they need any support in achieving that objective, and let them know what you consider to be done and when you need it done by, and also let them know kind of any kind of communication stuff or expectations that you have. Like, I need you to check in with me like whatever, once a week or once an hour or once a month, or just like send it when it's done, and how to send it. So like really dumb it down almost to the point of like a third grader or a fifth grader, because sometimes, you know, people can't read your mind, and sometimes there's a certain way that you want things done that's completely outside of the realm of experience of the person that you're delegating to. So it's really important to be super clear, and also ask if there's anything I've missed or if there's any way to make this unclear. So that's those are some of the things that I found have been super helpful in getting better results out of people. And at one point I was managing a team of 15 different folks with totally different backgrounds and things like that, and that's how I got around a lot of the challenges of working with that many people, is just like learning how to delegate, and learning that also, one thing I haven't mentioned yet that has really been impactful is what I call the overpromise, underdeliver. No, that's wrong. It's underpromise, overdeliver around deadlines and stuff like that. So if you're delegating to someone and then you need to pass that work on to, say, a client or something like that, it's really important to give yourself a bit of wiggle room. So I always offer, like, say for example, tell the client you can have it in a week, and then ask the person you're delegating to have it done in 2 days, and then that will give you enough time to address any errors or get anything fixed or add on to it, or whatever you might need to do before you're ready to present it to the client. So what I used to do was ask for the thing, whatever it was, from the person I needed it from, like the same day I was trying to give it to the client, and that was like not, didn't work out, because it didn't give me any wiggle room in case the person was late, or if they bailed on me, or flaked, or if they made a whole bunch of mistakes, or if it wasn't clear, or if they didn't get my email, or all that other stuff. So give yourself some wiggle room, and that will definitely make your delegation life easier, because also people are people and they're human beings, and pretending that people are going to do things perfectly all the time is really a recipe for disaster, and I learned that. So anyways, I hope that was all super helpful with you folks. Please like this video if you watched it and you found this stuff helpful. I would love to know in the comment section your biggest challenges with delegating. What is your favorite tip out of this entire video? And then also, I'm launching a group success program for self-employed and entrepreneurs coming up here in spring, so very shortly. If you want to be on the list to find out what that's all about, click on the link below. I will add the link in about an hour once I'm done my grocery shopping. So thanks for hanging out with me live on the drive, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.